All right, guys, and welcome back. It's been a little bit time off, and welcome back to Taking Chances with Shaun Coe. It's been about 18 months since you last heard me, and I wanted to bring back a friend for this special episode. But just to let you guys know this year, as we're bringing back Taking Chances, a little bit of delay, we're going to be hyper-focused on entrepreneurship, really pedestalizing some of the stories and some of the folks that are getting out there and getting after it. There's been a hell of a lot of transition since the last times I spoke to you guys, both for myself, for the world, for the economy. But coming back in now, once again, it's Jeremy Friedman with Instawork. So, Jeremy, how you been, man? Good to see you again.
Good to see you, Shaun. It's been, I know we keep up here and there, but it's cool to get back up on the screen here. I know that back in 23, we did a couple of these and talked a little bit about leadership and remote work and how the world has changed since that whole remote work focus back coming out of COVID. So we're in definitely a different place now.
I know the last time you were here talking tons about remote work and staffing, I know you've made some pretty big transitions and really excited to talk about where you're at today. Why don't you fill in some of the guests and let them know what you've been doing for the last 18 months and where you find yourself today?
Yeah, about 18 months ago, around that same time, I found myself transitioning from my old place to Instawork. And Instawork is a really unique company in that it is a marketplace, a tech-based marketplace that provides hourly employees to businesses. And we, cover the spectrum from light industrial to hospitality, stadiums, hotels, and so forth. And it's a platform where, a business can go online, go to their dashboard, post shifts, and bring in our workers. We have 9 million employees across the country domestically. Pretty incredible and
That's
unique
incredible.
skills. And we're utilizing AI and leveraging AI to vet those pros and to build our platform and to speed to market. Some of the stuff you and I will talk about, but it's been kind of a cool thing coming over here and kind of building up, my expertise, bringing it in, more of a hands-on touch, high touch environment. So it's been a fun 18 months, but you, sir, have had quite the journey. Tell me a little bit. Yeah, I mean, when we were doing this a couple of years ago, you weren't even in this country.
No, I don't even know what country I was in each time. I think each podcast we did, I was in a different country. So yeah, 18 months for me. And I just took a note because I want to go back to that. I really want to hone in on what you're doing at Instawork. Because for folks that don't know Jeremy and those that do, he's one of the greatest guys I know, but a little bit more humble to talk about how much of a badass he is. So I'm going to talk about that for him a little bit. So the last 18 months for me, Jeremy, as you know, I was engaged when I met you. Some things that we can talk about that some of the folks that are watching probably don't care about. Learned a lot about U.S. immigration, made me pretty politically purple. That's on both sides. So my wife is Romanian. Just a little personal story there. I met Laura back in 2020 when we were importing RNs for UC Health. She was really a person that motivated me to get into podcasting, get into some of the PR stuff. It was a beautiful, beautiful 5-year relationship that we thought would be about 3.5 months to get back overseas. And then the one thing I didn't expect, Jeremy, is the hardest move I have made out of living in 14 countries during that time was moving back stateside. So, we went through a couple hurricanes, got married twice. That is a story for another day. But, my wife got to learn about some American scam artists right out of the gate for the shotgun wedding. And then kind of fast forward to today. We landed in Indiana. We've got full ops management going, and then Ascendium Tech, and we'll definitely unpack all of that. But it's great to be back stateside. And just to tell you some of the stuff, it's very difficult to really run and operate a business when you're moving every 3 months. Sounds awesome on Instagram, right? It looks like very luxurious, but it's a little bit more challenging. But I do want to hone in on something. I know so much about Instawork. Talk to me a little bit about your role there, right?
Involved in hotels, but every business segment really brings a unique need, and you're going to have different things, right? You may have an Amazon warehouse that simply needs human beings to put packing peanuts into a box and tape the box shut, right? Low skill, no skill. And they need that, on a track schedule on a regular basis. But then when you're looking at stadiums, they need more supplemental needs just when they have events or they have games going on or concerts or things of that nature. And then when you look at hotels, and look, Shaun, I don't have to tell you this, you've been in food and beverage your entire life, very specific skill sets. And the difference between a Denny's line cook and a Nobu line cook is night and day, right? And so, it's great that we have the volume, and as we use it as an internal term, the liquidity of pros. That's what we call our employees, pros, professionals on our platform. We really have had to leverage and modernize a vetting process. And really that's where AI comes to the table to kind of go through a market. When you have a market like Denver or Indiana or or St. Louis or whatever the case may be. If you've got a partner looking for something, you've got to understand what they're looking for, understand what they would interview for, and you've got to apply that utilizing AI agents to go through thousands of candidates and surface them. But the difference between us and kind of that old school HR motion of thumbing through applications and interviewing strangers for 30 minutes only to make them an offer, we're doing it in hours, sometimes in days, but it's really hours where we're able to surface, score, and kind of provide our partners, hey, here are the candidates that will best suit you that we have on our platform within 25 miles of your building.
And super vetted and pre-vetted by other clients that are utilizing Instawork as well, right? So I mean, if I'm in need and I'm a hotel operator and I'm like, man, I've got a Sunday shift that I can't fill. Not only can I come to you folks, but I could also probably get some feedback on what those pros look like from some other competitors. Is that correct?
Yeah, and as we evolve in our conversations and some of the stuff we're going to talk about for the future, Shaun, our pros, similar to how you and I have a LinkedIn profile and, your heavy usage on LinkedIn, we see you post, I think this morning you were drinking soap water.
Yeah, that's a good story. We can talk about that one too. I'm still feeling it.
Bet you are. I bet you are. But like being on LinkedIn, we provide our pros their own profile page that shows where they've worked for Instawork, how they've been graded or favorited by our different partners, so that you as a business can go in there. You can, before they ever arrive on property, you can look at their experience, both inside Instawork, outside Instawork. You can see their attendance, you can see what jobs they do the most, which would kind of signal to you, this is going to be a very valued person at this particular position and less valuable at this particular position, and really kind of get a sense of what you need before they come on. It also gives you that ability to say, you know what, Jeremy's not a good fit for this shift that I need on Sunday. So let me take them off that shift and let me let the algorithm push somebody else into that shift and have some pro accept that shift and evaluate. Obviously, that's on a longer timetable. If you're truncated and posting the night before because your dishwasher called out, you're kind of, the smaller the timetable, the more you are on the demand of who's available, as opposed to really being able to pick and choose who you want to have on there.
I love the energy right now too, Jeremy. And just to say this, I mean, so I know some behind the scenes from where where you were at before and kind of alignments and what you're looking for, but it seems like you've done a lot of research on them before you got there. But I mean, if you're willing to talk to me a little bit about what it was like taking that chance to kind of go over there. Cause I know Instawork was relatively new in the space. I know they're killing it at what they were doing, but you were just so established with where you were too. And I mean, I just love your energy to just jump in and create something, because it's not something we see all the time, right? A lot of people get paralysis by analysis. So I don't know if there's any context there, but I mean, what were you kind of going through when you went there? Was it all guns forward? Was it an easy transition for you to make, if you're able to speak about that?
Yeah, no, I can speak about it. Obviously, coming into any new company, one, it was exciting. I spent 7+ years at my former company until you get really grounded, and I did grow there and I was able to be successful there. But it was also kind of time for a change as those changes come up in life. And, it was an opportunity to learn something new. Obviously, never before in my career was I working with a tech company. Never before was I so ingrained in AI. And even at the time, 18 months ago, AI wasn't what it is literally today. And you're going to talk about that with Ascendium. But never before had I done those kinds of things. So really, there was a strong learning curve for me to take my understanding of hotels, my understanding of staffing, my understanding of the staffing world at large, and some of the other things that I was able to do in life, and say, how do I take what Instawork excels at and bring it to the business world that I'm familiar with, and kind of merge those two things together? Because there is a lot of hesitancy in the hospitality space for new technology. There's a lot viewed as cumbersome.
No, brother.
Something else I got to learn. Then you take what you learn, and then you've got to get in front of these people and say, this is not so scary. Let me demystify this for you. This is actually going to accelerate you onboarding people. This is going to accelerate, bringing in new, very qualified pros. And this is going to reduce labor costs, which is a major, major topic domestically right now. Labor cost is huge. Any way you can bring down overtime, any way you can bring down attrition, any way you can bring down all of those things benefits your P&L and your bottom line at the end of the year.
Well, I love all this too, Jeremy. It's just so funny to me. And honestly, like we talk every day, but I'm unpacking some of this. So 18 months ago, I was a little bit more in AI than I probably talked to you about, but not at the level we are today. And just to say all the transitions we've both been through and still kind of to be at the front line of this subject in a new endeavors, but doing the same things at the same time, almost simultaneously. And I want to unpack a little bit too, just with Instawork. And I mean, this will get me into some of my opinions. I mean, so my jump into AI was really out of necessity. You know, when I say that is, I'd say around 2021, HC-Resource started to become a software brokerage, not out of want, but out of necessity, just ask of our clients. You know, when I say this on the back end, some of the stuff we're running into with HRIS or onboarding is a lot of co-competing APIs, right? So we'd see a lot of professional senior HR managers that were sold solutions from a very shiny sales team. And then you back up from that for the enterprise clients, and they've got 5 to 6 tools that don't communicate well. You know, they really have a lot of great overlap and not working in cohesion. So we jumped into AI ourselves, but just to say this as we're transitioning over, what I love about Instawork and just in the conversations with you guys are automating the right processes already, right? Even without me being super involved with anyone on your team, it's really easy from my perspective these days to see who's trying to use AI and flex their engineering muscles and say, hey, this is a Samsung refrigerator with AI, give me $3,000 more, or who's actually automating a workflow. And for all spaces, guys, from ops management to consulting, if I'm in tech, if I'm in any field, if we are fixing operations, the number one thing that we attack for all brands and all industries is labor first. Because if you don't project your sales right, you don't deploy your labor right. And if you don't deploy your labor correctly, you will go out of business. So what I love about Instawork, and just to kind of get over there, they're really meeting automation with operations and HR. And it sounds like we're really automating the process to keep the operators back on the floor. And I know we're going to dive into a ton of this, but maybe you can just tell me a little bit about what the AI implementations look like for you guys and how you're making that homogeny work and not be crass.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are engineers on our team that are way smarter than me, so I'll probably bastardize the description here. Just in fairness, that's not my forte. But, people on my team, they're utilizing different agents that we have built internally to really, go into our CRM, we have something called Falcon that has all of our pros. It's basically a giant digital Rolodex of every pro across the entire country, and be able to say, I am looking for this with these very specific criteria, and they're able to go find all of the people within a radius of that. And I would say that that's probably the most impactful, at least for me. I know that there's other ways we're using AI. We're looking at ways to work with robotics. We're looking at ways to utilize it internally to manage our own financials, to manage our own processes. But really where the rubber meets the road for what I do and with the clients that I'm with, it's mostly about that vetting. But I do know kind of behind the scenes a little bit, they're working on different AI solutions to make your dashboard, when you're a business, your dashboard work a little bit better, a little bit faster. Look for ways to make that scheduling even faster. If yesterday it was 10 clicks, how do we make it 3 clicks?
3 clicks
by
yep.
tomorrow, because we understand the types of positions you're posting for. So whether that be templating out those positions so that you're really, all you have to do is put in the dates and the times that you're looking for and speeding up those processes. But, in this day and age, it's all about speed. It's all about efficiency. It's all about speed to market, right? And whether
yep.
that be onboarding people or even doing the work in front of your computer. And you know this as well as I do, as you stand inside of restaurants and help them with their operations, or I stand inside of hotels and do the same thing. None of those leaders have the time to sit in front of the computer. And quite frankly, if they're sitting in front of the computer, they're not focused on the right thing. They need to be on the floor. They need to be focused on their employees and then focused on their guests.
Driving sales, coaching, and just to unpack what you just said, Jeremy, for folks that, know a little bit of automation, or maybe you don't know anything, you'll hear me say this quite a bit over the next couple years, Jeremy, but there's two kind of folks out there right now. And this is from engineers to CEOs. There's folks that are fully bullish on AI, or those that are all out, and neither are correct. So when we really started our organic process in HC-Resource, outsourcing this to a couple companies, we had our legacy workflows going in cohesion with the automation for about 6 months to a year on some of them. And what I love that Jeremy's saying is they are isolating very nuanced workflows and specifics to where labor is a massive constraint and we can have agentic processes to display that information quicker for us. So it really goes back to if I have great data in, good decisions out, garbage data in, garbage results out. So what I love about automation right now, when you have the ability and you have a very structured data set, like I'm sure Instawork does, and I hate to talk about humans as data sets, right? But it's when it's structured and it's organized and they're already utilizing it, it's very intelligent to go in for any CEOs that are out there and say, where is my number one labor constraint? Is Jeremy Sale from Instawork saying that I've got 9 million people in this database that's going to take you as long as you want to go through? Or is the sale for Instawork that I've got pros ready to go in market today, and we're going to quickly vet those so you can make the best decision you can when your hotel manager didn't show up or your door manager didn't show up, right? So, and I get all this too, Jeremy. It's like, it's the same vision for us. If we keep our clients on the floor driving sales, our results are always going to be better. So when we go into a dev mentality, it's like, are we taking hours away from the client or are we adding hours to our engineering team? Because if it's just the latter, sure, we can maybe make it fancier, but we want to make sure that it's effective. So, I mean, I just love the stuff that you guys have got going on over there. Tell me a little bit about and I don't know your role enough if the automation's impacting the field at all, but do you hear any feedback from some of maybe the pros about how the automation has potentially helped them get more, employer visibility with the kind of folks they want to work with? I'm just curious if you've heard anything from the field.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's one of the things that I think is a strength of Instawork is our surveying ability and access to the pros to get their feedback as well as from the partners. So our pros have the ability within the pro side of the app to rate and score where they just worked. Did they like being there? Was the manager good? Now, what we're able to utilize as kind of that middle person between the partner and the pro is go back and we actually have something built into we have an agent that can take data from our pros and from the partners' behaviors and create QBRs for us to be able to sit down with the partners and say, hey, this is what the pros kind of agnostically are talking about. They're saying that, the managers are always present. It's great to work there, great work environment. They give me a free meal, all of these things. But then we also say, look, your fill rates may not be up to this level because look at this. You're on average booking between 4 hours and 24 hours beyond the shift. But if you book 7 days out or you book 5 days out, you're going to go from 75% fill rate to 96% fill rate because it's going to reach more of our pro pools. So it's kind of like getting guest comment cards both from the pros and from the partners. The partners are giving guest comment cards on the quality of the pros and how they're doing by rating and scoring them. And then the pros have the ability to score them. Look, coming back from a more traditional sense, a couple of years back where I was, the way that the employees, the temp staff would work, they'd vote with their feet. They would just simply not go to those jobs anymore. They didn't feel like they had a way to communicate whether or not they liked being somewhere. So they weren't able to see ways to improve. And I think that our partners find a lot of value in, just like they get guest comment cards from the guests paying to stay at their hotels or pay to be at their restaurants or whatever the case may be. I think that they like hearing from the employees that come in.
Oh, it's great. Well, Jeremy, I wrote down almost the same things you said. So, and what I love about this, and we'll be talking about this all year too, Jeremy's combining and Instawork's combining a legacy feedback loop that's very organic in hospitality of combining feedback from the candidates back to the clients, back to the whole establishment, more data to be able to get those candidates in the right time. But you're essentially taking a snapshot. You have an established workflow. You're providing feedback on both ends in both directions. And I'm assuming without automation, all of this would be labor normally, right? So it's
Oh my
an
God.
account manager back in the day, right? Trying to call all those people that voted with their feet. So like, Sally, I'm really sorry that you didn't come in today, but could you just tell me a couple reasons why my client that I sent you to sucked? And those calls never happen, right? But what I love that Jeremy's saying, and this is something that we coach all the time at Ascendium, You want to take an established workflow, inspect it from top to bottom. Where can I automate and get more data accurately back? So, and I can talk about this a little bit from our recruiting.
And I want you to. I want to hear about it. Ascendium is in its infancy stage, Shaun, right? Like you just launched Ascendium, didn't you?
Yeah, so it's an infancy stage. Yeah, we'll unpack this a little bit. So HC-Resource, full transparency, full ops, full recruitment. I'll say it now. By the time this gets published, most of our clients have already heard this. We will no longer be selling legacy recruitment because it's a dead concept. Like direct hire, sorry to say this to everyone that's out there, we're coming for you because the metrics suck. It's always sucked. Jeremy, I've talked to you about this behind the scenes. I've never been fired by a client. I have outpriced almost every client that we've ever worked with because of velocity. We ran into a couple opportunities, a few clients this year, like they gave us 21 roles. We fill them in 2 weeks, and sometimes you get in trouble for that. It's like, hey, man, we're here to perform. So at Ascendium, what this really happened, just to kind of give you the background of this, when I was in Romania, you and I talked about this, but this was not public knowledge to a lot. I had purchased a call center. Oh, this is just how crazy the world is, right? When I went to Romania, it was to buy a call center because the call center was the way forward before this word AI came out. I made a purchase of a call center. I had it for about 3 months, started to get pulled into some interviews with the AI Institute of Stanford, started to do some work with Penn State, just long-winded ways of until eventually one of my best friend's younger brothers, who was graduated from MIT, called me and had the same conversation. He's like, Shaun, I just want to talk to you about AI. And I was like, James, why? And I'm like, I'm sorry to ask this, but so many people did. And then it quickly dawned on me, Jeremy, in the conversation with James, I learned that coding language was going bye-bye and coding language was more English language today, right? And we're not fully there yet. But over the course of that process of letting go of the call center, starting to get into AI, we were building a sales team when I first talked to you. We have completely automated the BDR and SDR experience at HC-Resource. We got into a couple, I won't say their names. I got involved on consulting projects for a couple Y Combinator funded AI recruitment agencies. What I could tell you is after about 18 months of watching that, same conversation I'm having with you, the folks that are in automation right now, and I'm not saying everyone, but there's a lot of people out there selling snake oil. Right. So I'm impressed by automation, but by no means are you going to hear me say, Jeremy, I'm going to release a platform that's going to fully video interview everyone for all your clients in the next 20 years. It's just, there's going to be human components that need to stay there. My perspective of sitting there for about 18 months was a lot of folks taking a lot of capital investments without an idea. And when I say this to you, Jeremy, I had 3 companies that were funded that found us to consult after they raised capital. And my background. I mean, I'm an Irish immigrant, guys. I've bootstrapped every concept besides one, and I'm a little bit proud about that. So really, when I jumped into this, Jeremy, I was pissed off, if I'm being honest. I was very angry at what I saw. I was very angry at some of the folks that I was close to that were into this. So this really started off as a little bit of a personal vendetta. And then once we started to automate the process at HC-Resource, I didn't talk about this a lot because I was learning for the last, I would say 14 months, the amount of books and courses that I've taken, the amount of projects that we've been on, some of the partners that I pulled into Ascendium. Ascendium really came together from my client database of folks that I've worked with in and on HR, proficiencies with other clients. And then just essentially some of the same like-minded folks out there of like, hey guys, I'd love to jump into this AI thing, but number one, I think a lot of folks are raising more capital than needed unless they're building a language model. So where Ascendium sits today is Ascendium is the software development wing of Human Capital Resource. We've got 2 products that are about to come out, and I'm under my own NDAs. But what I can tell you, Jeremy, is probably on our next session that we have here in a couple of weeks, we'll be showing a demo. But we have essentially fully automated the hourly recruiting for hospitality, right? So if you think about what I said to you before, you didn't fully automate recruiting. We're fully automating hourly intake for full service restaurants. In full transparency, Jeremy, too, this tech and this development came about kind of like what you and I said before, out of need from some of the clients that we worked with, right? So I got into this situation where I own a recruitment company. I could not help some of my clients that needed hourly help because I could not afford to pay my recruiter, or could I incentivize the recruiter to go do that for the labor, right? And we both know where EBITDA is in hospitality. So Ascendium kind of came out of practicality. I'm really, really, really excited for where this is going. But I mean, just so all of my guests can hear this too, and just for knowledge base there, Ascendium and HC-Resource are kind of kissing cousins for right now. And the first 18 months of Ascendium will be fast launching out of this full automation that we're doing for our dashboard and UI, because we've got some really good stuff coming out. And I'll be honest, Jeremy, it's more for recruitment companies. I'm excited about it. It's not going to help the clients too much, but there's about 7 to 9 very isolated automation workflows in there that are insane products that will give money back. So here's something I want to say and then give it back to you. This product that we developed is going to have around a $500 landing cost, right? The average spend for our clients on Indeed for hourlies per month is $1,750. So out of the gate, what I get really passionate about is we can do this with the right development when we're automating the right processes, not sending our clients a $17 million development fee, right, to just showcase how all the bells and whistles. We're going to be able to grow an amazing market cap space over the next 18 months while we're saving all of our clients money and we're putting good candidates back into jobs. And you know how I feel about the world. It's taken me a little bit of time to kind of get this back together, because really the back end of what I hate about recruiting, and it's not with Instawork at all, but when you're in the legacy recruiting like I am, it is not a scalable endeavor for our clients. I'm going to say that out loud. Goodwins, I'm talking to you. Robert Half, I'm talking to you. It's not sustainable, and you guys know it. You know it's not sustainable. So for the folks that are on the cutting edge and the front end, just be aware there's options out there for you guys. It doesn't have to be Instawork. It doesn't have to be human capital resource. But if you're an executive and you're responsible for making decisions, you know that you can't keep up with the HR bill that you have, especially with where the economy's going. So don't be afraid to think outside the box. But thank you for that leadway in, Jeremy, too. Talk to me a little bit about platforms. I know you guys are super flexible there, right? So when I say this, like some of the clients that I've talked to about Instawork, full service restaurants, and you and I always have this background laugh. Like when we were both full service operators, I would say, Shaun, I'm never going to hire someone from hotels. And I think you used to say it. Now sitting in my seat, I'm in the other side. But I just want to talk a little bit about like some of that stuff that you've unpacked and how Instawork is able, because you're like, we're in all these industries. That's not easy, Jeremy. I mean, that takes a lot of talent. So how did you guys become so flexible? And just talk to me a little bit about, like, I'm assuming it's from the platform that gives that flexibility for you guys to be in those spaces.
Yeah, no, I mean, the origin story of Instawork kind of goes back 10 years, and it started in restaurants in San Francisco. Our CEO got out there. I'm probably going to mess up the origin story a little bit, but the highlights are identifying that restaurants had challenges with call off of a dishwasher, call off of a busser, low skill, no skill positions where you can train someone relatively quickly. So it really started as an on-demand platform, right? And so that is actually very scalable, because if you walk around a city like downtown San Francisco, where in a square mile, there's probably 100 restaurants, very easy to say, look, do you ever have call-offs? And the answer 100% of the time is yes.
That's always a yes.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So really easy to do that. But I think that, over time, as more people join the company and more industry experienced people join the company, whether they had light industrial experience or whether they had stadium experience or hospitality dining facility experience, whatever the case may be, they said, you know what, this is really applicable across the board. And so, by utilizing our engineers and these just wildly intelligent people on the team, they were able to really put out there and not through advertising, really through a referral network, that workers look and look at it this way. 2015 was 5 minutes before COVID hit, right? So,
Yeah,
all of a sudden, now you need people who need supplemental income. The cost of living is really, really high. You need ways to augment your income. And what were people doing in those years? They were driving Uber and Lyft. They were delivering food. They were doing all of these things to supplement their income from their full-time job. Well, Instawork created a realistic place where you could look at your pro app and say, all right, I've got availability on Thursday afternoon. I'm going to get out of my normal job at this time, and my kids aren't, whatever the case may be. I can go earn extra income, or I can work the weekend when I work my normal Monday through Friday 9 to 5. I can work the weekend and create that experience. Well, that just kind of snowballed into more and more referral base. We have really tens of thousands of signups every month on the platform, and we do no advertising.
That's
People
amazing.
download this app on a regular basis, and because it provides that flexible schedule. But in recent years, what we have found by surveying our pros is that we had a section of pros that were like, yes, I like the on-demand flexible schedule. I pick and choose when I want to work. And then we have this other segment that said, I am tired of my application getting put into the black hole of
Uh,
the work industry because no HR department has enough time to filter through all of those applications. And so they weren't getting jobs, and they need to feed their family, they need to pay their rent, they need to pay their mortgage, whatever the case may be. And so we now also have this subsect of people, and it's a very large subsect that says, if Instawork can get me a full-time job, I would love to be on a recurring schedule. And the benefit to our partners is, I think the notion of full-time being 40 hours a week anymore is kind of a
it's
misnomer.
it is.
It's
Yeah, I'm with you.
3 days a week, it's 5 days a week. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but it's variable schedules. But I want the same person every single time so that I can train them once and they can be on this reoccurring schedule as I need them. And so our platform has evolved over the years where, you can roster, you can favorite Shaun and Alyssa and Jeremy and John and Bob, and they're already trained, and you get the same people, and you can actually schedule them for shifts. And then if they're unavailable, our system can then go out into the greater marketplace of pros through algorithms over time and say, all right, these shifts are still available. You are someone who is qualified and vetted for this particular role. It's available to you. And so then you can further build your roster, because I'm a net new person walking in there and you like what I've done for the shift. And you're like, well, shoot, I want Jeremy to come back for another shift.
Yeah. Yep.
So we've really created this environment where, or a platform, if you will, where it gives flexibility, not just to our partners, but to the pros as well.
It sounds like you guys have really created a community base. Like, I don't want to say that for you, but I mean, it almost sounds as close to like community and lifestyle where, I mean, it's self-fulfilling, right? So that you're not spending advertisement to get the folks into there because they have the flexibility, which I think timing meeting the market is probably great. I mean, you said so many things I want to unpack on there. All of our full service restaurants these days, previous to the pandemic, are carrying 35% more staff just to be full time. I would say full time is 35 hours maximum these days. We do have a couple kids that want it, but there's a lot more options, Jeremy, for the youth these days too. And I think that's one thing that a lot of folks don't understand that I'm hearing you say is like, when I was in college, if I didn't graduate college until then, the only job I was going to make money at was bartending, so this was really the best job for folks like us when we were, doing our schooling, or, maybe you got out in your career and you're laid off for a little bit. I mean, I always had bartending as a backup, but now I think, the world that we live in, I mean, shoot, you could start a TikTok channel and make millions, more than maybe even Instawork and HC-Resource put together with some of these kids, So I just think the world has changed, and the brands that haven't met that of like, what are people looking for right now? And I love what Jeremy said. They have a feedback loop even there. They didn't assume that it was just the flexibility, but you got the feedback. And then, so the client is also able to try before they buy. And I think you also said, if they do end up loving one of those pros and the pros wanted to become a permanent hire, that is something that you guys are set up to do as well, right? So like if I'm Sally, the manager, and I love Jeremy working for me, I'm like, I want to hire Jeremy full-time. Instawork's going to be happy for that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's what makes us unique and different than our competitors out there a little bit is, while, our bread and butter is having kind of these reoccurring schedules and posting shifts and so forth. So obviously that's the mainstay of our platform. We are very open and very malleable to other service lines, whether it be temp to hire, direct hire, but all working within the ecosystem of our marketplace of pros, right? So if you are, I know that you work with some different restaurant groups, but if you're looking specifically for a particular position, it's not that I'm going out into the ecosphere of ZipRecruiter or LinkedIn or
Yep.
Indeed.
Yep.
We're working within our pro profile, right? And so here's the difference. Rather than going into that ecosphere where it's kind of the world is at your disposal, which is great, you're not getting credentialed, qualified, vetted people, whereas every single one of our people that we could bring to you has been vetted internally through our systems, through our platform. They've had to take quizzes to qualify themselves for various positions. So somebody with no line cook experience can't pick up shifts to be a line cook.
Yeah, they can't apply for a bartender.
Right.
Yeah, I got you, man.
So there's a vetting process. So when you say you want something, whether it be direct placement, temp to hire, whatever the case may be, you're digging into our pool of pros in your marketplace. And the difference here, which I really like, is intent. It's not forced, right? A pro is saying, I want to be there. They're looking at your uniform requirements, your pay, what parking situation, what the public transportation situation is. All of those pieces are available there. And the pro is saying, with all of that known, I want to be there. I want to go there.
And it's so subtle, Jeremy, but you have like almost informed consent on both sides because you're ensuring that both have inspected one another, which just to tell you guys, this is crazy to hear, but that's the number one thing that people don't do. And this is at every level. We've submitted vice presidents before. I hate to say this. We've submitted vice presidents to a client that he didn't do any research. And it's like, man, I didn't think we had to coach you on this, right? So this is early in the days. We got our fingers burned some, but I mean, that's the number one thing. Just to tell you guys what normally happens for our clients with automation in the wrong spot, right? So especially at the low skills area, if I have my application on Indeed or ZipRecruiter, I can wake up. I'll be honest with my story. I wake up hungover because I'm a 19-year-old bartender. I got laid off last night. I can go hit quick apply and I'm going to shotgun apply to 1,000 concepts. No shit. This is how Indeed works today. And then I don't care who responds to me, right? Because everyone always talks about the clients are bad. Yes, some of the clients are bad, but guess what, guys? The process is not the best right now. It's just
Broken.
It's broken.
Broken, Shaun.
That's how we both fix it, right? I mean, and this is a great conversation for what's next, and I'll just quickly talk about this before I transition. What's broken in recruitment? Most internal teams of C-level executives, if I have a gun to their head and I said, what did you spend last year on recruitment and turnover? They will not know. This is enterprise clients of 150 to 200 million plus because it's a broken cycle is what Jeremy means. What happens generally in these full service, I don't care actually what the endeavor is, healthcare, you name it. People get underwater. They don't know what the cost of turnover is. They're not allowed to work with externals. And then an executive changes his mind and says, pulled in the externals. We're not tracking our turnover. We don't care how many people we hire. And then we get closer to the fourth quarter. And like clockwork, you start to get emails. It's like, don't hire anyone until January 1st. Well, boss, it's the busiest time of year. And Jeremy, I have seen this as an employee. I've seen this with almost every client I've ever helped. Sorry to say that. And it's even a process. And even if you know about it, it's easy to get stuck in because to go back, it's not that people are stupid, that the system is broken. So let's talk about what's next with Instawork. Because if I had to really sum this up and why I'm so excited to be talking to you, I love to collaborate with folks that are fixing issues. And I really think the way that we're both brands are kind of approaching this year, we're going into, we're going to fix some issues. But tell me a little bit about what's next with Instawork, what's next with us, I guess, just what's next with Jeremy altogether.
No, I think that there's some good things coming. Look, I can't go completely under the hood with everything that we're cooking up for next year, but I think we constantly are introspective on what's working on our platform, what's not. How do we better benefit our pros? How do we better benefit our partners? And how do we take a very antiquated human resource motion, simplify it, speed it up, and then hand the keys to the car to our partners to say, look, this is not overwhelming. This is not difficult. Every company out there, and this, Shaun, the corporate offices, they sit there up in the tower and they say, all right, we're going to throw in a new PO system or a new PMS system, or we're going to throw these things. And they're underutilized. They're not trained well. They're not doing things. I think one of the things that Instawork does remarkably well is it's simple. On future conversations, and we're going to talk a little bit about what you and I are going to be doing in the future going into next year, which I'm really excited about. We have the ability to kind of bring some excitement to, showing the dashboard right here on future conversations you and I are going to have, but also having you show Ascendium and show some of these things. I think showing our audiences how simple these things are, it's less about getting out there and selling them on it and more about like kind of asking the question, why wouldn't you want to make your life easier? Why wouldn't you want to spend more time in front of your guests, in front of your employees, making your businesses stronger and driving revenue? The money's out there, but we're spending so much time on the cost, on the things that are costly, and less time on the things that drive success. And this is something that gives success, gives opportunity, gives control, and gives flexibility. And I think that as we introspectively look at Instawork, we're looking at ways to improve automation, improve vetting, improve fill, and then expand, right? And offer these solutions to more and more of our partners and grow our partner base, as we continue to move forward. And so, excited to do that. Now to kind of kick it back over to you, HCR, Ascendium, what are you looking to do, in the next 12 months as far as that
It's
goes?
it's going to be one of the craziest years of my team's lives for sure. So I mean, we've literally created a little bit of a juggernaut. So over the next 2 weeks, I will restart the Shaun Coe YouTube channel. It's going to be a little bit different. No more skydiving and stuff like it used to be in the back. But we're going to really do a series of behind the scenes of just showcasing our techs and a lot of webinar. Also, it sounds like you and I will be starting another podcast that we can talk about later. That's going to be a little bit more focused on recruiting. But some of the stuff that I'm really excited about, Jeremy, is the first tech that we have coming out is for hourly recruiting. Like I said, if we hit all of our metrics, we should have 3 products fully launched by the end of next year. I'll be transparent with you. Some of this I can't talk about. First one is probably large enough it becomes its own business in itself. Ascendium will be fast launching those products. As you know, too, we're really deep with some finance folks and some PE companies as well. We've got some interested clients already that we are kind of collaborating on. I'll go as far as we're about to co-brand one of those big workflows. Over the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'm going to start bringing people into the beta. We are at 150 units signed up right now. Our big beta release is next Friday, going out to 2 groups. I am both excited and terrified, right? Because it's working really good. But that's when the support's going to come in. And just say, I want to say this to you too, Jeremy. We're doing a closed beta for a reason. We could have developed this product in closed doors for 6 months to 18 months. And I could have already released it. But just one of the things that I'm passionate about is I love feedback from the field. Like my team's one thing, but I want to put this into operators' hands, HR managers' hands. And really what's awesome about the closed beta is we are cherry picking, right? So we've got over 4,500 units that have signed up on that. Units or restaurants for the folks that are outside of there. But we're cherry picking the ones that can give us great feedback, because even though the tool is great, Jeremy, you know this too for being an ops, there are some things that we haven't even thought about yet, right? From this real world in the field that we want them to apply. So over the next, I would say by January 20th, this will be for sale. You'll probably see some of this rolling out over the next month. Definitely on the first YouTube channel and first session that we have in December. It's going to be full blast. It's a really interesting thing right now. HC-Resource never did anything inside of hourly recruiting. You and I have talked about this a ton, right? That was always the overlap. So when we first started reaching out to our clients, what I assumed was our clients would tell us to F off because we don't do that. Well, it was the antithesis. So we've got people just knocking down our doors. But I think what's really awesome about this and what makes me feel great, and I know the growth will come with it, we're able to do good work, giving great dashboards and information so clients can make decisions. But we're also able to save the clients time and money every time. And that's just one thing that I'm really firm on. So if we're ever creating a product and it doesn't save my client time and money, we're not going to do it, because what the hell are we doing then? And then a thing that I'm excited to talk to you about that really is not productized yet, but just to get this out to your network, we are about to disrupt also employee handbooks. We've done all this legacy stuff that used to take 40 hours to do turnover. We just did 5 employee handbooks with some of the automation we have. And again, templates signed off by SHRM certified folks and legal teams, but we've taken a 4-week process down to 45 minutes.
Wow.
So some of the stuff that I'm really excited, and again, so these are things like if you're a CEO, yes, I could pay $20,000 for an employee handbook. What I really need to make sure is it's connected to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, it's updated, it's accurate, and it shouldn't cost that much, because a lot of the copy shouldn't cost that much time. So where I think we sit today, Jeremy, is if we deploy the things the right way, is going to be a lot of cost savings for our clients that are out there, and really just doing the same business, but just with a better approach. And you'll see us kind of converting from those big ticketed items that no one wants to buy to a really bite-sizable, consumable, budgeted item that people can hop on board for, and it's going to help their growth. So, I mean, that's all in the kit and caboodle. Let's talk a little bit about what we got planned, though, right? I mean, because I think if the guests are listening to us, we've got a lot of overlap. I'll let you say this portion because I don't want to say more than I should, but I'm really excited to be having these conversations with you folks over the next year, but I'll let you start that process.
Yeah. So Shaun and I have been kicking back and forth. We had fun doing a couple of taking chances. This was our third, and it was fairly well received a couple of years ago. We'll see how this episode is received once it's released, but we have fun doing this. But taking chances in and of itself is really Shaun's baby, and it's about entrepreneurship and that leadership and kind of, taking that risk out there. Shaun and I, with the adjacencies between HC Resources, Ascendium and Instawork, and what we're working on, and that forward thinking with automation and AI and labor management and kind of that 360 workforce solutions, we think that there is really a great audience out there to kind of talk about this. And so the idea on the table is kick off a podcast very similar to this, where in 2026, where we talk about what we're doing in real time. We talk about ideas. And Shaun, what do you think? I mean, even inviting some really smart people to come on the show and join us and talk a little bit about what they have going on, and maybe how you've helped them or how we've helped them. And really kind of get this dialogue going about how do we modernize and what is being done to modernize workforce solutions, in the 21st century and really 2026 going forward.
I'm so excited, Jeremy, just to say this. Like, you guys are approaching this. I mean, without even meeting all the key players of your team, you're approaching it the right way. And I know you're new to automation, but me being invested in this for a while, all the stuff you've been saying in this interview, it's approaching the right way. We must be collaborative, right? To go back to what I said before, there's so many brands out there right now that are in competition. And at least when it comes to the AI space, if there's folks that know how to do it right and collaborate, it's no brainer to think together. Same thing, even though Jeremy and I are aligned, like just this hotel to full service restaurants, like we could have a whole episode about that. It's so close, but it's not to the end consumer. And there's a lot of things that you guys are going to be applying, and a lot of databases that you guys already have that are really structured and good, to where we're kind of pulling that unstructured into structure, right? So I just think there's going to be so many real world scenarios to talk about. And I'm just excited to talk to you next year about how both companies are kind of impacting real world habits, real world hiring, that 360 workflow, with just giving solutions to clients. And I love that you said this too, Jeremy, that they like and that they need, because I don't hear any other brand talking about this. And I've been on the Instawork platform. I agree with you. It's very intuitive. It's easy to use. And I think that's just the way that both of our brands kind of approach things. If it's not low hanging fruit for our clients, why are we doing it? And this whole conversation, I've heard you say that. So I'm really excited about the future. And anything else you want to let the folks know about? I know we've been gone for a while, but we'll have all your socials posted below. We'll give a good shout out to Instawork as well, but leave the guests with something to find us on the next one.
Yeah, no, keep an eye out on our socials. We're going to be announcing the new podcast and when it's going to start and when it's going to launch. So stay excited, stay posted. Certainly reach out to Shaun and myself, and we can talk to you privately if you're interested in hearing a little bit more about it sooner. But more to come for sure. We're really excited.
Yeah, and just thanks for tuning in today, guys, too. I just some behind the scenes for Jeremy. Really excited about where the world's going. For anyone that's out there that's in operations, automation, or just curious about the conversation we're having, if you're struggling with staffing, if you're struggling with HR, sincerely reach out. Conversations do not cost anything, and there's nothing Jeremy and I love more than solving folks' problems. And we're both this kind of guy. If we can't help you, we will send you to the people that can. But stay tuned for us, guys. This episode will be released in about 7 days. So on the 41st, you'll see this. The Shaun Coe YouTube channel, first episode will launch December 1st. And if all things go to planning, Jeremy and I will be on a podcast yet to be named, the third one, sometime in January. So it's good to see you again, Jeremy. Thanks for being here. And thanks all for tuning in. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.